What's up, guys? Extreme Garage here. Hey, wanted to talk about, so I've been sick for 3 years. So I got COVID 3 years ago. Was on vacation. I came back from having COVID. I went back to the place I was training at because I did martial arts. And then I started having a problem. So cramps all over my body. So I go to the hospital, they do blood work, everything's fine. So what ends up happening is over the course of the next year, I went to the doctor 5 or 6 more times. I went to the hospital 15 times because I kept getting cramps all over my body. My body would lock up, couldn't move. So what this video is to try and help somebody else out that might be sick. Any type of health ailment like fatigue, not feeling well, low energy, whatever the case may be. I'm not trying to sell nothing. I'm just trying to tell you what happened to me, and that I went to the doctor. So the next year, so it started to get worse and worse. So I couldn't walk 15 feet without being tired, have to sit down. Kept getting blood work done, couldn't come up with anything. So over the second year, they put me on some steroids for my lungs, so my breathing got better, and I wasn't as fatigued. I could walk around, but as soon as I was in the sun or did any physical work, strenuous, I would start getting muscle cramps. So then I tightened up my diet, fixed my diet, went on a bunch of like magnesium supplements, stuff like that, multivitamin. So doing the supplements helped a little bit, but it never got it back to being halfway decent. So going on the third year, more testing. So by this time I'd been to the hospital emergency room 15 times for cramps because I couldn't move, because if I worked or did any type of labor, then after I sat down, I would start twitching everywhere, and then I would start cramping up. So I started to just take it easy. I started to work nights to try and see if that did anything. Nothing helped. So this came into the third year of being sick. So same thing. I couldn't work out, couldn't train, couldn't do anything. So went back to the doctors, finally got the doctor on board, runs a bunch of tests, and 90% of the time my tests came back pretty good, nothing really bad. So then I kind of forced the issue the last 6 months of me going back to the doctor, and he says, well, I really don't know what's wrong. And I'm like, well, I can't take this anymore because it's driving me crazy, because, I was always, an athlete, even though sometimes I don't look like one, but I always trained. I always did martial arts. I always went to the gym. After I graduated high school, I wrestled in high school. I did kickboxing after high school. Then probably late 90s, I started training again. 2000, I started doing kickboxing and boxing again. And 04, I started doing jiu-jitsu. So then I did jiu-jitsu, and then I ended up taking over a martial arts school. And I think I did that for like 18 years. And then I owned it myself for like probably 12 to 15 years, the school I had by myself. And then my health kind of started to dwindle towards the end, and that's kind of the real reason I shut it down. I never told anybody, but that was the real reason, because I never felt great. So anyways, coming forward, so I couldn't work out, I couldn't go train, I couldn't do anything of the stuff I like to do. So I kind of started pressing the doctor, and I'm like, listen, man, I can't do nothing. What can we do? So then they tested me for autoimmune diseases. They tested me for like muscle deterioration, or I can't think of the word, but your muscles kind of eat themselves and start atrophying. So they tested me for that. So all those tests came back negative. The only one test that came back positive was something called anon gap. So what that means is too much acid in your blood. So I kind of went back to the doctor and I told him, listen, I go, is that the problem? I go, because that kind of relates. If I go to work out, I'm fine doing the work. It's when I stop that all the problems happen. So I'm like, that's kind of like I start working out, you get lactic acid building up, and I have too much acid in my body. So I'm like, that seems like what the problem is? Oh, I don't know, I don't think so. That's not it. Da 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 da. So then I started looking at some other stuff. I seen Dana White went for that 10X company, and he did the testing, the DNA testing, and all that stuff. So I started looking into that, but the one company for me is too much money. I can't afford that. I'm, you know, average guy, working dude, so I can't afford $1,000 tests. So I went back to my doctor and I talked to them again, and so then he told me about another company they're going to start using, and that's something that I finally did in the place. And again, I'm doing this to try and help anybody, one person, 10 people, 1,000 people, however many people this helps, right? But the place is Genova Diagnostics, okay? Again, I'll put this in the description. It's Genova Diagnostics. They're out of North Carolina. And so what this company does is they test you on DNA. They test your DNA, so they do a swab. They do 7 vials of blood. They do a urine test. Because again, I was at my wit's end. I'm like, every single test that I take came back okay. So the same thing, I was going to the hospital, they test my blood, I talk to the doctors, they have no idea what I'm talking about, they never seen anybody with this problem before. I can't be the only person with this problem. So again, tell the doctors the whole situation, how it happened, this and that, and they all come back with, oh, we don't know, da 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 da. The doctor's like, oh, your blood work's better than my blood work. And again, I did change my diet. I cut out all processed foods. I went to eating like steak, fish, chicken, vegetables. Then I started doing just cabbage. I did a bunch of fasting in between over the last 6 months. And everything helped a little bit, but nothing kind of got me over the hump. It would still, hey, if I worked out too hard, doing something, hey, I go home 20 minutes later, boom, cramps start coming, twitches start coming in. So if I didn't take a little bit of a muscle relaxer or something, I would be going to the hospital. So anyways, I went and I had this testing done, I had the blood work drawn, I went and did it. It takes about 3 weeks to get the results. So again, I highly stress this. If you're just not feeling good, you're worn down, hey, your joints are killing you, whatever the case may be. So I did the test, hey, and the testing came back, and they found a whole bunch of stuff wrong. So they give you, like, it's a big printout they give you, and it's all kinds of charts and all this stuff. So anyway, so at the end of the day, it came back that I have too much acid in my blood. So what happens is that my acid level is so high that when I work out, the two don't go, and then it starts to affect my muscles. And so what my body does, it cramps up everywhere. So it starts in the big muscles, hamstrings, back, lats, and then I'll get it in the calves, and then I get it in my arms. So again, so the reason I did the testing is to try and get some kind of resolution to the situation. So anyways, I had the testing done, the testing came back, found that I had a whole bunch of vitamin deficiencies. So it's not something where I got to take, some kind of medication or this medication or that medication. So anyways, so basically my problems is my B vitamins are super low, which is B6, B12, B9. So that came on the sheet also, telling you what vitamins you got to take. So omegas are bad, omega-3s, omega-9s were bad, zinc was bad. I got to take, there's a problem in my gut, which too much yeast or mold or whatever the heck is going on in there. So I got to take a probiotic, a digestive enzyme, because the other thing in this test told me that a lot of times when I did the testing, what they keep telling me was I was dehydrated, you dehydrated, you dehydrated. So, but I wasn't, because I made sure that I was taking, 8 or 12 bottles of water a day in the heat. I would put sea salt in there and the whole 9 yards to try and get better. So, and again, that stuff helped to keep the problem at bay, but it never fixed anything. So again, that was some of the other stuff that they said on there. It tells you what your toxicity level is for chemicals, and actually that's not too bad for me. Most of my antioxidants are pretty good. I had a lot of stuff that was good, and just the ones that were bad were super bad. So I got a list of vitamins that I got to take. It's a dietary enzyme, probiotic, vitamin A, the B's, like I said, the omegas. I take a magnesium supplement. So long story short, I've been on the stuff for 2 weeks now, taking the vitamins every day. So now, again, I'm not back to 100%. I'm not at 85%. I'm at like 65%. So I was at like 45% before. So now I started to see by doing tiny workouts. So I used to love going to the gym and, banging the weights around that people love to do. So again, I want to work myself back there. So it seems to be working. So I'm just going to kind of do a video update on what's happening and see if this maybe helps somebody else out with the same problem, or somebody else is sick that and the doctors, you go to the doctor and you're telling them what's going on, and they look at you like you're crazy. You're trying to describe what's going on, and they look at you and you look fine. I looked fine. Besides the crazy hair, I looked okay. And I could walk around and, but inside I could tell I didn't feel right, and any activity, it just wouldn't work out. So again, it's like 2 weeks. I'm on the vitamins. So I started doing little bits of workouts in the morning, which I'm going to video some of that, maybe to try and help somebody else out that got hurt or injured, and try and work my way back to getting back into the gym. So again, I'm going to be doing stretching, which I do a lot of stretching, because when the muscles tighten up, you got to get them. Now, since I've been doing the vitamins, I got to get everything stretched back out. So I'm going to do this to see, in which I think the stretching's helping, because before, when I went to touch my toes, I could just barely get past my knees. Then I could get my fingertips on the floor. Now I can get my palms on the floor, getting my head closer to my knee. So working up, loosening the calves, and then just doing small exercises from the chair, shoulder exercises and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and work my way back, but I just kind of put this out. So if anybody's having any sickness, the test cost me, like, I went through my doctor, but I'm pretty sure you can go through them. It was $430. It's called eval. Eval is the test where they do the DNA, 7 vials of blood, and they do the urine test. And it, like I say, it's like 8 pages of information. It came back with charts and all kinds of stuff, and how you're breaking down the carbohydrates and the proteins. And then I had to take something else too. It's called glycine. It's amino acid. So that helps break down, I think, proteins. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just, putting some information out to maybe help some other people. And what that glycine does